Good. Good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. Time is 6 o'clock. So first things first is the approval of the agenda. The motion is that the agenda for the regular council meeting of December 1st, 2025 be approved as amended. The amendment is to move 12.3 to follow our presentation on 4.1. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Burton, Councillor Ray Young, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Any declaration of interest tonight? Seeing none, we're going to move right into our presentation tonight. We have Alphabet Creative in the house with Marley Kirkpatrick. And I can't read his name, but Steve, sorry, I'm Steve. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, the floor is yours, guys.
Awesome, thank you. I see that you've got the presentation up there. Do you want me to share my screen as well so we can go through as I'm talking, or is someone else doing the slides?
No, if you could go ahead and do that, that'd be great.
Share it?
Yes, please.
Okay, coming right up. 1 second here. Oh, I need permission to share, please. There we go. There we go. Oops. Okay, well, thanks everyone. Nice to see you all again. So I'm going to walk through today a outline of some of our recommendations from the brand implementation and marketing recommendations document that was shared with the town of Prescott a couple weeks ago. So just a quick overview of what I'm going to run through. So I'll give us a quick recap of the project, just a refresher for everyone. Then I'll walk through our approach to implementation and key action items throughout the short, medium, and long term, and then quickly touch on just next steps. So just to refresh everyone of where we've landed with the brand. So really exciting that really this is kind of where the work begins actually at this point. So we've done all this consultation and all this strategic work in very close collaboration with Dana and her team at the town in building out a robust brand strategy and visual identity for Prescott that's really gonna just refresh the identity of the place and support storytelling efforts, create a brand that reflects the community pride and the potential that the place has. We were brought into this project as experts in place branding, but you are, of course, the experts in your own place, and it was really wonderful to work so closely with many of you on bringing this to life. And so what we've now done is developed a phased implementation plan that's really going to help to ensure that long-term adoption. Unfortunately, we see far too many brands just end up on the side of someone's desk, but I think that the town coming and seeking an implementation plan as part of this project is really a great step in making sure that this continues to move forward. So from all the consultation and community engagement work that we did earlier this year, just a reminder of some of the things that we heard. Prescott offers more than what people expect. There's a very strong pride in the heritage of the place, the waterfront, the community spirit. There's a desire for a unified voice across the different departments and partners within the town. It was very clear that it was quite fragmented before this process began. And so there was a need for much clearer messaging to attract residents, visitors, investors alike. And so where we've landed with the brand, so the positioning statement, which I think everyone really loved when we presented this, which is fantastic, is that Prescott surprises you. It's welcoming, it's a connected community along the river. It's vibrant and entrepreneurial. It's historic, but confidently future focused. The brand promise is you're in for a surprise. So that's really intended to be used as a call to action. It connects people emotionally to the place. It's flexible to be used across all different departments and industries: tourism, community, investment, business attraction. And our brand pillars that were also developed is that Prescott supports, Prescott service, success, shore, sport, spirit, scene. So this really set the foundation of what the brand became. And so now when we're getting into actually implementing it, like I said before, this is really where the real work begins. And this is where we hand a lot of it off to you folks to carry this forward, all of the fantastic ideas that you've had up until this point. And so how we built out the implementation framework, and I'm not going to go through every single detail. It's a 37-page document. I'd probably take up your entire council meeting if I did that. But I want to just touch on kind of the key things and how we've broken this out. So there's 3 phases. There's the short term, which is 0 to 6 months. So this is really the setting the foundation and a strong internal adoption, because you need to get all of the folks that are internally going to become stewards of the brand. All of you need to get on board with the plan and with the brand itself in order to help carry it forward. So it's that foundational rollout internally, onboarding and teaching people about the new brand. And so that's up until about the 6-month point. Then after that, for a couple years, then you're in that medium term. So this is where you start to take on some of the bigger projects, refreshing assets, expanding the brand across different touch points. And then long term, so that's kind of like 2-3 years and beyond, this is where you really work on optimizing, continuously improving. The reality is that things continuously need to, so some of the things that you might do in these first 6 months, 3 years from now might need to be refreshed. And maintaining that really strong brand stewardship. So one of the recommendations at the outset of the plan, and we recommend this all the time to places that are bringing on a new brand, is to create a brand stewardship committee. So really the intention behind this is to create a working group that functions across departments and it oversees the rollout and the consistency of the brand. So truly, like I was saying, you are the brand stewards, whoever's on this committee. And so these roles include economic development and tourism. And so that I think right now would be Dana taking really the lead role here as the brand liaison. Community services, administration, operations, having someone from the BIA. So we're getting that cross-departmental representation of people. And this group then really is the head of the snake, right? We need somebody to take charge and to lead the implementation. And so the purpose of this group is for approvals, quality control, training, brand evolution, like I said, just really keeping things moving. And so then when it comes down to the actual tactical recommendations for implementation marketing, there's 6 different areas that we looked at. And so if you're looking at the larger document, it's broken out in this way. So there's brand management and governance. So this is really the work of that stewardship committee, ensuring consistency across all of the different departments and projects that relate to the brand. Brand launch and rollout. So that's really when you hit the ground running and introducing the new brand in a way that's going to help build excitement and pride within the community, and also make sure that people understand it and how to use it. Brand applications and creative collateral. So this is really just making sure that it gets applied across all touch points. There's so many things that that come to light when you're implementing a new brand. You're like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about that one document that we haven't refreshed in a while. Well, we need to apply the new brand. So things like that. It's always a work in progress. You're not going to do everything overnight. Nobody can ever do that. Even massive destinations cannot do that overnight. So it's an ongoing process to update all of your collateral, all of the different areas where a place brand is applied. And then marketing and communication. So this is really the ongoing management of the digital presence of Prescott, all of the content, public communications, any real outward facing assets that the public would see. So whether that's your residents, visitors, future investors, business owners, et cetera. This is just making sure that the brand is applied across all those touch points. And then specifically on a marketing front, tourism and ec-dev marketing. So pursuing actions that are going to specifically strengthen tourism and economic development. So this is looking more at like campaign work and things like that, asset development like photography and video. And then evaluation and continuous improvement. So this is where we're monitoring performance, we're reporting, we're making sure that consistently the brand is being built on and approved. Brands are intended to be living, breathing things. They will evolve over time with the place. So it's just making sure that you're keeping up with what's changing in your own community, and making sure that the brand remains aligned with that. So just to quickly go through the action items that we've recommended. So some of the priorities in the short term, so that 0 to 6 month time frame. Like I said, the focus here is really that launch and foundational support. So establishing that brand stewardship committee, honestly, that is like item number one. Figure out who your task force is that's going to work on this, and get that rolling. Figuring out a cadence for a meeting structure. At the outset, you might want it to be more frequently because there's going to be a lot more heavy lifting to do up front, but then maybe it becomes like quarterly check-ins or something like that. Conducting an internal brand rollout for staff and you folks on council. And so that's really just kind of officially internally launching the brand, walking through the guidelines and the strategy and all of the positioning and making sure that everyone understands the brand. And we're happy to support you in that further if needed. And then launching the brand publicly. So often brand launches, they don't need to be a big flashy event, but sometimes it's nice if you already have a community event that's happening to maybe introduce it as part of that. You can reveal it through your digital channels, social, the website, etc. Updating core materials. So that's really all your business collateral, like email signatures, letterhead, business cards, those kind of things, and making sure that those are all getting refreshed. An full audit of collateral and signage. So this is, like I said before, kind of going through all the different things that you have where brand might be applied and making a really robust list of all of the things that over time you're going to chip away at. Conducting a social media audit and consolidation plan. So we did provide some recommendations on this, but this is now actually executing on those. Developing tours and packaging, a framework for that, and maybe some pilot packages, bundles that you could do. That was something that we had spoken with Dana about that I know folks in Prescott are looking to pursue, especially now with a new hotel. And then creating some sort of a brand performance dashboard. So something that you can use to just easily communicate to all of your partners where the brand's at, what you're doing, what you're working on, things like that. And then when we move into the medium term, so that's that 6 months to 2 years kind of time frame. So this is where, like I said, we're expanding. So refreshing website visuals. This doesn't necessarily need to mean like a full website overhaul at this point. I know that might be a future project, but just even refreshing where it's showing in your existing environment. Some new photography and videography to align with the brand approach. Signage update, so that way you would identify what's needed in that short-term list of collateral, and now actually starting to roll that out. New templates for reporting, marketing, content, all of those things. Launching some new campaigns with the brand, so we recommended starting seasonally for this or around major events. Create an investment marketing toolkit. So this is really just kind of what's needed in investment for an ongoing marketing plan and tourism campaigns. Introducing a toolkit as well for partners and local businesses and how they can use the brand with their own in their own ways. Conducting quarterly reviews. So how's the brand being adopted? How's it working with partners? Getting some intel from your partners. Attending trade shows and tourism events. So this is just where you can now start really branching out and working in a more of a sales facing way. And collaborating on co-marketing initiatives. So specifically, we've mentioned R29 and Destination Ontario. They're two fantastic organizations that you can partner with to help showcase Prescott further. And then long term, so this is where we're really fully into stewardship of the brand. And so we're in an ongoing way evaluating performance. We've recommended that council receives brand reports as well. Of course, you folks are going to want to continue to stay up to date on what's happening from this project. So whatever that cadence looks like, quarterly, annually. Refreshing and update brand guidelines. Like I said, these things will evolve over time. And once there's more real world applications that can be used, right now the guidelines are very it's mock-ups. There's nothing that's actually out in the world yet. So once there's some new stuff out there, you can do a V2 of your brand guidelines to include those items. Expanding marketing partnerships and trade show presence. So this might be looking at cross-sector opportunities. Like I said, again, refreshing, constantly print and digital, included in that. And that like every 5 to 7 years or so, re-looking at what some of those templates look like. Updating signage and branding. These things come with wear and tear. And so you may want to be looking at long-term kind of future planning for what some of those replacements, or updates might be. Continuing training in an ongoing way for new staff and partners that come on board, refining your content strategy and campaigns based on analytics from any pilot projects that were done, and then just maintaining that ongoing reporting and performance dashboard. And then some recommendations that we've made specific to digital and social. So, like I said, streamlining and aligning social channels. Right now, there's a lot of different channels out there promoting many different aspects, but we've provided Dana and team with some recommendations on how those can maybe just be streamlined and simplified to make it very clear what that user experience is. Same with the newsletter. Developing a monthly content calendar that's shared across departments to make sure that storytelling is aligned. Developing templates that could be shared, that helps to create a unified brand voice. Prioritizing digital platforms that are really high impact. So that's things like Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, Google, YouTube, if we're putting out any paid campaigns. And then strengthening brand consistency across newsletters, which I already kind of mentioned, along with social. And then some priorities with marketing and communication. So really where the focus should lie is in unifying that messaging across all channels, which I alluded to, but that's not only Prescott's channels themselves, but with partners as well, such as like the pop-ups, the Shakespeare Festival, things like that. Using the you're in for a surprise tagline strategically. Doesn't need to be overdone, but it can definitely be used in a very strategic and tasteful way in marketing campaigns. Targeting, we've made recommendations to keep it relatively regional for the time being while the place continues to grow and evolve and mature. So that's places like Ottawa, Kingston, Brockville, even into the US with Northern New York State. And really making an investment in storytelling. Brands really should tell the story of the place, and the people is what makes a place. And so focus on that. Focus on telling the stories of business owners or people who have moved to Prescott and why did they come here, and telling those stories through your channels to really enforce the power of Prescott. And then quarterly performance reporting. I've also highlighted some funding opportunities. These are just things that I'm aware of or I did a little bit of research to find. I will say that this is not a fully robust list, and this cannot be taken as Bible. Funding things are changing all of the time. And so of course, these will need to be looked in further through funding cycles, but there's opportunities in tourism and marketing, economic development, community and culture, and partnerships. And then when we're looking at next steps, so what this means for Prescott specifically, is that, so the brand's going to support strengthening community pride. I think truthfully, that is the biggest thing behind a brand. Your community are what makes it your brand, or what makes your place. It'll increase awareness of Prescott regionally. It'll support growth in the tourism sector. It'll support attracting visitors and entrepreneurs. It'll improve consistency across all of the different town communications. It'll create long-term efficiencies with having unified templates and governance. So the plan is really just the starting point for the next phase. This is not the end of the branding process. It's ongoing for the future of the place. And so just what's next? So immediately, as I said, forming that stewardship committee, internal rollout, and introducing the brand to staff who haven't been involved in the project thus far. planning what that public launch might look like, whether it is an event or a social rollout or whatever that may be. Prioritizing any template signage updates that really need to be done. If there's anything already in the hopper that needs to be replaced, well, this is the opportunity to now apply the new brand instead of putting anything old into that spot. Recommendations on how to report back to you folks on council. So I've already mentioned these, I believe, but an annual brand performance report. So that's just really every year kind of saying, here's where we're at, here's what we've been working on. Budget requests tied to the phasing plan. So of course, these things do cost money. And so there's going to need to be some budgeting that goes along with that. So working with you folks to make that happen. And then just future collaboration. So Alphabet is here to support and happy to help in any future projects that come forward. So we've already connected with Dana about this a little bit, but just scoping out what some of those future design projects might look like based on the priorities that have been outlined in the plan. And developing what those priorities are over the next few years to implement assets. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight, but creating a list and prioritizing and scoping some of that out and looking at what that might look like for budget planning cycles will help. So that's everything I've got to say. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. And Steve as well, he's here too.
All right, thank you, Marley. Any questions for Marley?
I'll kick things off this evening.
All right, let's go.
Just a couple of notes. I mean, I read the whole report and it was long. And the one thing I'm just asking for clarification. I know that's not happening tonight or anytime soon, but on page 67 of 115, it suggests that it's talking social media and it has like headings and then kind of like the groups that under each heading. So the way I read it was, for instance, recreation heritage in the library would fall under one social media page called Join in Prescott. Is that kind of what's being suggested there?
That's a recommendation that we've made, just to kind of combine forces on those different channels that are currently out there. Yeah, that's the recommendation.
And so, I mean, if I may, through me, I don't know if the average person that goes on Facebook that's looking for the Prescott Library is going to know to join in Prescott. You know what I mean? I don't see some of it, to me, kind of seems too, I know we do have a lot of social media pages, different pages kind of saying the same thing, and maybe that's a good thing just to try to get more attention out there so you're not always putting the same thing on one page. But I would hate to lose certain identities. You know what I mean? Example would be the Prescott Library, or the other two, honestly, recreation and heritage wouldn't really bother me because they don't have as much presence as, say, the library. So when people go to look for things on social media, I think it should be easy to find. Right. And then I guess the other part is, you touched on it, the slogan Prescott surprises you. Where is that being suggested that we use that? Would that be on like every logo? Would it just be Prescott and then underneath surprises you? How does that look?
No, so what that is, that's your brand positioning. So that's really essentially a brand positioning kind of defines the brand strategy as a whole. So we've also suggested that it could be, or you're in for a surprise. Prescott surprises you can be used like a tagline, sparingly. It's not intended to be used every time the logo's somewhere. It's really something that can be incorporated into copy in a creative way where it fits, but it doesn't always need to be used. I don't know, Steve, if you have anything you want to add to that, but.
Oh, I think you covered it. Yeah, just it's not meant to be used every single time. But like, let's say you had a tourism ad and that's a print advertisement. Maybe that's the call to action, right? You're in for a surprise, and then visit prescott.ca is the URL, right? So it's not to go with the logo. Like, it's not, I'm looking at your Prescott the Fort Town thing. It's not meant to be used for that. It's just, as Marley said, it's kind of how you speak about Prescott, right? That's the basis for the sort of general vibe of the town.
And thank you. That's kind of what I was going for. Like I was wondering, and I was going to use that as an example, actually, was the Prescott and the Fort Town. Would that be everywhere plastered? You know what I mean? So I think you answered that. So I appreciate that. I think really that's all. No, that's all I have for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kirkby. Any other questions? Councillor Campbell?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, I was just wondering about the committee, your branding stewardship committee. Are you thinking of having just staff on it or community members? What kind of makeup do you think for that committee?
Truthfully, that's up to you. I would say you don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen. I think the strongest approach is probably having just staff. However, you are a smaller place and you did have significant community involvement in this brand development. We spoke to a lot of community members. So you folks and Dana and her team know the players best and who would best, I think, be a valuable member of that committee. But typically our recommendation would be to stick to staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Anyone else? Oh, round two.
I have a question, but it's not really for Alphabet. So it's more about the rollout of the
I think
brand.
that's the next.
Is that coming later?
Next.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming in today, and hopefully you've got good weather wherever you are. And we appreciate everything you've done so far, and we look forward to keep working with you in the future.
Thank you. We're in Ottawa. It's cold and snowy here too.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, folks. Nice to see you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye now.
All right, so we're going to move right to 12.3 as the amended agenda. So 12.3 is staff report 83-2025, the adoption of final brand guidelines and marketing strategy. So the motion is that council approve the town of Prescott brand implementation and marketing strategy as prepared by Alphabet Creative. Can I get a mover and seconder? And then we'll have the president. Okay, Councillor Tracy Young and Councillor Justin Kirkby. All right, Dana. It's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar, through you to council. So we have a report before you today recommending the approval of the town of Prescott brand implementation and marketing strategy as prepared by Alphabet Creative and just presented. And just to take you through a little bit of a background, so we launched this in September 2025. Council endorsed the Prescott branding strategy messaging framework, followed by the visual identity concept in October. And staff was then directed to proceed with the development of the document that we're bringing before you tonight, which is really the meat and potatoes of the brand itself. Takes you through a bit of a strategic roadmap that outlines the governance, the rollout, marketing, and evaluation, as Marley just took you through. So the following provides just a bit of an overview of some of the key project milestones that we've gone through. Really just wanted to refresh your memory as to where we are at with the visual concept and the brand framework. So the brand positioning and promise is Prescott surprises you, or you're in for a surprise. It's they can be used interchanged, as Marley indicated in her presentation, and not necessarily in conjunction with the logo. Certainly more of a standalone thing to be used for promotional materials, publications, digital and print based. And some radio messaging as well, or TV if we should ever make it to that one. So the framework itself is supported by the 7 brand pillars that were outlined: supports service, success, shore, sport, spirit, and scene, and guided by 5 values: hospitable and inviting, accessible and connected, collaborative and resourceful, ambitious and grounded, authentic and passionate. These principles unite municipal departments and partners under a single voice across all departments, which I think it's a really a good fit that can be used, no matter what the story is that we're telling, whether it's operational, tourism, economic development, administration, the brand really does fit with everything that we're implementing. And just a bit of a refresher to take you through the logo and brand promise. And some of the key elements, including the color palette, which is primary deep river with ivory beige for the main color. So what you see there, that would be again utilized more in digital print publications. For the purposes of merchandise, you would see just the standalone logo used or the icon that was developed, the lighthouse icon. We foresee that being used in combination on some of our merch. And then for the typography, the Noto Sans is the family is the primary font, and then Arial is been identified as a good substitute that would be available to anyone working potentially within this brand word. Photography and style, very human-centered imagery, so we do have some work to do when it comes to capturing some new photography, more people-focused, oriented photography, getting inside some of our businesses, attractions, and experiences to really showcase that experience for people in our future marketing. And then example applications would be templates for signage, stationery, digital assets, vehicles, and street banners, all of which were presented as part of the previous branding strategy and messaging that was adopted by council. And then I won't take you through the implementation and governance. Marley did a really good job of providing a summary of what that process will look like, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions related to that. For the marketing and digital strategy, we really feel that it recommends aligning all communications to the core positioning. Prescott surprises you and the brand pillars, using coordinated content planning across all departments. And that's why that creation of that stewardship group is so important, to really ensure that the brand is being implemented across all departments in a consistent, impactful way. And then some of the priority actions are coordinating content strategy, editorial calendar around waterfront life, small business success, community spirit, and year-round events. And I really like that approach, that storytelling focus. That's really what I think is going to gain traction with our future marketing, and really showcasing and involving the key players in that story will not only gain participation, but greater buy-in when it comes to the broader community and implementing the strategy moving forward. And then as far as some of the other areas of focus were regional collaboration, targeted outreach, including participation in tourism and investment campaigns with partners like RTO9, Destination Ontario, the creation of themed tourism packages. Now that we do have a hotel in the community, it really presents a lot of opportunities for that we hope to capitalize on moving forward with some of our partners. And then, of course, looking at annual marketing campaigns, there will be an investment in advertising, digital, print media, and really identifying, what best areas of focus should be for that. And of course, this will all certainly be budget dependent. On to evaluation and funding. Funding will be relied upon externally whenever possible. We do intend on submitting an application to the Rural Ontario Development Fund, which has an intake in January. I'm hopeful that that would support a lot of that marketing implementation work. And, continuing to partner and looking at Destination Ontario for partnerships, RTO9, and some niche funding partnerships as well that can exist that we could pursue. So as far as alternatives go, council could choose to modify the strategy further, with the understanding that further changes certainly could result in additional costs that weren't encompassed in the original scope and financial implications. This will be a fairly long implementation phase over the next 3 years and supported by grant and partnership funding wherever possible. One thing I did want to touch on that came up in the presentation was the social media aspect and the library specifically. That was one area that and I apologize, that should have been omitted from the package that was brought forward to council tonight. That is one area that we recognize is very much a standalone entity. We, of course, want to encourage all departments and affiliations to incorporate our branding wherever possible. But we do recognize that the library is a bit of a unique entity and would certainly not necessarily incorporate their social media within community services. Hopefully that satisfies any concern in that regard. Happy to answer any other questions that council may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Valentine. I have a quick question. Is our contract with Alphabet Creative over now, or?
Yes, so this completes the contract upon approval of this final strategy. The implementation phase is where we would have the option to continue to work with Alphabet on future phases, and that would all be at an additional cost.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from Ms. Valentine? Deputy Mayor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I'm hoping, like, I gotta be honest with you here. This is something that I can get on board with. I can see the value of it, but I don't think it's something that I would lay my life on going forward. I would hate to see this interfere with budget money that is for something that is more needed in the town. When you say that you're going to be applying for grants, excellent. If we get grants, I'm all forward for going forward with it. But before I would like to see anything going forward, I'd like to know whether we have those grants. And in the budget process, which I believe Mr. Armstrong is going to be bringing forth to us very shortly, I would like to see some specific figures for this year's implementation, shall we say, of what is here. And so we can have a very good idea of what we're in for if you don't have any grants coming forward, what departments they affect, and how we would implement them. I mean, and also I think I'm certainly hoping that some common sense will prevail here. Like, for example, it mentions business cards. We're in the fourth year of a term. If I see 500 business cards coming out my way with a new implementation on, I'm not going to be very happy about it. So I think there's some common sense things here. That's something that I know it's a 6 months to a year. That to me would be a year. New business cards for the new council. So as long as you look at it like that, I'm on board with it. And I think it would do well for the town. Thank you, Shankar.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Councilor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, just to echo on Deputy Mayor McConnell's comments there. A couple questions, like, I think we allocated 80,000 for this.
For the strategy development?
For Alphabet, and we used that full 80,000 to get to this point, would that be correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess.
70, I believe, was gone.
58.
Oh, 58, okay, sorry.
Oh, we only used 50.
Yes.
Oh, so we can.
So we're up money here. So, and I guess, that's my question, right? Like, we budgeted for that. We already have that kind of in the budget. Could we roll some of that money maybe into the implementation of it? And then you must have a budget now for advertising and stuff like that. And maybe that's kind of, I would assume, right, that budget carries forward each year that would be put towards the implementation work that's going to happen. Would that be fair?
100%, yes. Happy to speak to both of those comments. This would be very strategically done. This is not a matter of completely overhauling and introducing that new brand right off the hop. It would be done as these projects arise. For example, signage would be implemented as the need to create new signage comes into play. It would be incorporated in our administrative documents when it makes sense. To your point, no, you're probably not going to get new business cards 6 months before the end of your term. Staff, yes, we would roll out the new internal materials for the staffing cohort, but not necessarily for members of council. And, for that, I think the timing is actually quite great. With the new council coming in, you would receive a great package that includes all of that new marketing material and be fully set up to carry through the full term. And yes, when it comes to department implementation, a lot of these items are going to be included in our regular budgets. This is a matter of changing the graphics that we're using currently on some of our advertising. Yes, we would like to look at, a more enhanced advertising campaign moving forward. That's something that I would foresee tapping into external funding for. And there have been allocations made for signage, for example, that council has already approved, that has actually set us up with a bit of an implementation budget already off the hop. So it's not like we're going to be coming to council with a request for significant implementation dollars immediately or even in the distant future. It would certainly be more a matter of building it into our regular budgets.
If I may. And just a comment, Dana, on I believe it's page 35 of 115 here. So when it has the Prescott supports, Prescott service, I'm assuming that's when you come on to the Town of Prescott website, that's what you would see, right? And so, again, I mean, the P and then you got the S, right? That's kind of the theme there. But as a user, if I come on there, sport is easy to find. Service, I find, is easy to, distinguish what that's going to be. But the rest, for me, is kind of like, okay, so where would I want to see council or the upcoming or agenda or, do you know what I mean? Like when.
So the intent of those, just for clarification, is not necessarily meant to translate into what our website headers would be.
That's how I took it.
The use of these pillars is really, again, more in our marketing. Say, for example, community services is doing a post about movie day. Then they may include Prescott, the spirit pillar in their communications. If we're doing an ad for investment attraction, or, better example, say we're announcing a new business opening, it would be Prescott success might be the pillar that we utilize in that. That wouldn't necessarily translate to the actual website pages.
I misunderstood that, so thank you for that.
Sure.
And then the last one, when they were doing their presentation, some of the pictures on there are amazing, right? And then, I look at the people on the banner, and not that we know them people, but just saying, like, some of our scenery is our best asset, right? And so to see that, marketed with some of that stuff, right? And that picture looking down from the marina, we have the lighthouse, and then you have the Coast Guard ship there. That's a pretty amazing picture, and for me, sometimes you go through and you see in some of the communities, the people that are on these things, and doesn't connect as much as the scenery when you're sending it away. Do you know what I mean? Like in our usage that goes out to people, not so much on the daily banner. But anyways, I just wanted to comment on them, the pictures of the scenery. I mean, you go down to the store on Main Street, Ashton's there, and some of that scenery, you could sell tourism all day on it. It's very well done. So, thank you.
And I appreciate that comment because that is one of the things that we actually struggled a little bit with. And I think that we would look at taking more of a blended approach and having people focused when it makes sense, but also incorporating those scenic, those iconic images that really represent Prescott and really compel you to want to come to this place.
Good. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? No? All right. Seeing none, I'm just going to read the motion again. The council approve the Town of Prescott brand implementation and marketing strategy as prepared by Alphabet Creative. Moved by Councillor Tracy Young and seconded by Councillor Justin Kirkby. All in favor? Carried. Thanks. Okay, no delegations tonight. 6.1 is the November 17th previous council meeting. Motion is that the regular council minutes dated November 17th, 2025 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Burton, Councillor Ray Young. Any questions from that minutes of that meeting? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. No communications or petitions tonight. 8.1 is the council information package. The motion is that all items listed under the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Is there anything in the, sorry, do I get a mover and seconder first and then ask? Okay. So we'll do a mover and seconder. Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Burton. Now, is there anything in the information package that people want to pull out? Deputy Mayor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shanker, and I almost hate to do this because it is substantial, and it's item number 2, Building Faster Bill, Bill 60, and I think this unfortunately is going to mean a lot of work for council reporting back, but when you read through that, there are several things in there that hit us in particular or may hit us in particular, and I believe we need the advice of council, possibly even our legal department, going forward on it as far as making a comment goes. And I just jotted down some of the areas as I was going through that it could possibly affect us on. There's land acquisition costs, development charges, treasurer's statements, and water and wastewater issues. And all of those are very important. They're all possibly things that will cost our staff time and which is going to cost us money. So it's a substantial ask, but I believe it's important that staff is able to take a really good look at this and advise us as to how it's going to affect us going forward. I know there isn't much we can do about it, but we should be at least aware of the major effects and possible effects that we are going to get from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Preston?
Just to Councillor McConnell's point, if the item is pulled from the consent agenda, it may not be conducive to have the fulsome answer to those questions within the next 2 weeks from legal counsel, or to have a fulsome picture to bring back to council. So perhaps council might endeavor to have it on the first meeting in January, so that we could ensure that we have this substantial report back on it. That's acceptable.
As I said, I almost hated to bring that up because it is a rather heavy ask of staff, and I certainly can see where in 2 weeks' time it's not going to be able to be brought back from us or for us. So I don't have any problem whether this is brought back in January or even February. I'll add staffs as they're able to look at it, but I would say within the next couple of months.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right. So the motion is that the regular council, that all items listed under the consent reports package section of the agenda, except for the one that Deputy Mayor McConnell pulled out, be accepted as presented. Is that good with the mover and seconder? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay, no committee reports tonight. Mayor's report will be short and sweet. We had a wastewater management meeting with probably half of council there already, so they were there as well. It was a good meeting, a couple of interesting, good ideas and good follow-up that we're going to work on. Santa and Mrs. Claus were in town hall on the weekend. Great job by our rec staff, and even some of our summer staff were home for the weekend, so they were helping out, and the kids really enjoyed it. I was surprised at how afraid of Santa they were, which a little sad, but you know, it is what it is. And then this week we're having our Christmas town luncheon. So with is it all the volunteers and staff will be at the Prescott Club Thursday at noon. So that's my report. We'll move on to Deputy Mayor McConnell.
Oh, thank you. Well, my report isn't quite as short this week. I have had very short reports for several weeks, but you have to bear with me here. On the 21st, I took part in the Santa Claus parade, and I was Frosty the Snowman, and I made very many young kids happy by patting them on the head, giving them hugs, high-fiving. I think that was a hit. On the 22nd, the next day, I took your place as deputy mayor with two ribbon cuttings that were apart. So it was a quick go there. The first was for the main, which is located in the old museum building on Water Street. They've done a really nice job inside. It's nice and bright. I like what they've done outside with the black. It goes with the stone very well. And I think it's an excellent example of why previous council decided that we had to let go of that building, because it has been undergoing renovation for 3-4 years now. It continues. Each year it looks a little better, and I think we made the right decision there. We moved from there at 12:30 up to, I forgot.
Never mind, just move on with your.
I heard this one.
Councillor Young was very nice to contribute to the town coffers. He received a parking ticket for parking across the road in a no parking zone. So your $20 contribution to the town coffers, Ray, is very much appreciated.
That's towards your budget.
So we moved from there up to the Tim Hortons store on Edward Street, which has new owners, which we met. And we cut the ribbon there. They had a several $100,000 renovation of that building. And they were presented with two, what do you call them?
Certificates?
Certificates, thank you. One by us and the town, and Ray did the honors for the province in both cases. That was the 24th. 25th, I attended the Heritage Committee training here at the town hall from 3 to 6. That was presented by a Kingston firm, and they provided some information which I think was valuable to the members of council who were there, and also to members of the Heritage Committee. Now, there is kind of a funny hookup there, but I had to take Nancy, my wife, to a doctor's appointment in Kempville that afternoon. And as we're coming back at 2:00, there was an accident on 416. Several cars were there. A police car was there. Some people standing outside, one lady in a wedding dress of all things. So we commented on the way by, and as I was coming in to the town hall building just before 3:00, guess who was going out of the town hall building? The wedding party. You can believe it. Yeah, same one. I guess they just made it before the presentation. So that was the 25th. The 26th, as you mentioned, we had the wastewater management committee meeting at 7:00 here in the town hall. And then on the 29th, Saturday, a little early for me, 8:30 in the morning, I welcomed the Special Olympics curlers to Prescott on behalf of the town. That was surprising to me because I was expecting some children, and it wasn't children, it was adults. I think the youngest was, I would say, in the early to mid 20s, and the oldest extended to, well into their 70s. And it was also a surprise to me because this is a province-wide league, and they have several teams from all over the province. There's provincial playdowns, zones, and Prescott was the scene of one of the zone playdowns on Saturday. There was teams from Ottawa, Kingston. I believe there's one from Cornwall there as well. And I provided a welcome on behalf of the town. Dana put together some packages for each member of the each curler with some town dollars in it. And Dana and I both had a very nice email from the president of the curling club thanking the town for their participation, and the people who were there with the curlers were able to get out between games, take a look around town, enjoy the waterfront, and they had nothing but good things to say about the town and about the Prescott Curling Club. And that is finally all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Young.
Thank you, Mayor
No
Shank.
mention of the parking, okay?
I don't have to report on that. Report on the lawsuit I've launched.
Defamation?
Yes, I did attend the ribbon cuttings and I did attend the wastewater control plant meeting. But the one that I want to focus on tonight is St. Lawrence Lodge. The 2026 budget has been completed and accepted. And I'm very happy to report that our share of the expenses has gone down by 10% from last year. So $28,546 less is required from the town of Prescott than it was last year. The reason for this, they had a very healthy surplus last year based on revenue being up $300,000 and expenses being down by more than $700,000. So that's a good way to start the budget.
That's good news. Thank you, Councillor Young. Councillor Tracy Young.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. This weekend, the Riverwalk Wonderland is back again. At 6:30 Friday night is the tree lighting with Santa and real reindeer and horse-drawn sleigh. And Saturday, there'll be live Christmas music, both at the Clock Tower and at the Hop-Up, along with games, vendor market, petting zoo, and Prescott dollar giveaways throughout the afternoon as well. Explore Prescott has also developed a downtown gift dining and celebration guide. So there's both a digital version, which I would encourage everybody to share. And then there's also a printed version available at merchants as well. I attended the Economic Development, the United Counties Economic Development Summit in Kemptville last week. They recognized the 175th county's anniversary there. So there were former wardens there, which made it interesting. Two important announcements by MPP Clark. The province has accelerated the planning process to meet the power demands that we had supported that resolution for economic growth in partnership with Hydro One and Rideau St. Lawrence for the St. Lawrence region. For affordable and reliable power. And also, he announced an investment of $18.4 million in support of the Eastern Ontario Regional Network for broadband expansion in our area. And $12.1 million will go directly to Leeds and Grenville to connect 1,500 residents, businesses, and farms. So I thought was really good. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councillor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Shakespeare, there's a meeting tomorrow night that I'll be attending. We're already planning for the 2026 season. Just a little tidbit of the shows. It's Macbeth at the Tower. So it's just kind of something unique that we're doing with Shakespeare this year. R&J and Johnny, a new musical that's going to be here, and spotlight series shining light on local talent. That's what's going on there. I have an update from our community and services department. The holiday train to Merrickville was a huge success, and thanks to Edwardsburg Cardinal and Augusta for the partnership. I don't know if anybody's seen the holiday train, but it's something to see. Really nice, something to see. And photos with Santa and the cookie day was a success as well. I don't know if Santa ate most of the cookies or not, I'm not too sure, but anyway, so moving right along. There's a paint party tomorrow night at the ACC. And the tree lighting and the Riverwalk Wonderland is Friday night. The under 9 hockey tournament is this weekend at our rinks, and 24 teams are coming to the area. So for the hockey tournament, and Christmas market at the Leo is this Saturday. Seaway Optimist Club youth event at the Leo will be on the 7th, and the holiday Pilates with Sarah is on the 13th. But I do have to say that our huge success with the Santa Claus parade. Huge success. And like people were coming out of the woodwork. It was the place to be for the parade. And kudos to our fire department with all their hard work, because I know it's endless and endless of hours, but well done.
And since you brought it up, can I just ask, is the U9 tournament 1 day or 3 days?
2 days.
2 days, okay, good.
Yeah.
There's potential for overnight stays. Good.
And I believe they're using not only our rink, but I was for Cardinal as well.
Cardinal?
Mhm.
Great.
Lot of hockey in Prescott this weekend, lots going on.
U9 hockey.
But don't forget to see Santa on the Winter Wonderland too. I'm sure he might make an appearance.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Thanks, Mayor Shankar. Ditto about the Santa Claus parade. Great job by the fire department. I was frosty last year and I missed seeing a lot of things because you can't really see. But the thing that I did do was talk to a lot of people, and then you see that our float is cresting over the overpass. So I actually hooked it up with that, I think, eh? You and I were running up that overpass. So great parade. I was so impressed with how many little kids there were just lined up, and I seem to know a lot of people too, so that was fun to talk to them, but yeah, gotta keep up with the float. I too attended the Heritage designation workshop. I'm impressed with our Heritage Committee for making these decisions based on what I learned at this workshop about there's 9 different criteria, and they have to do it all from looking outside a home. They can't go inside the home. So I wanted to go to learn more on a council perspective, but I'm kudos to that Heritage Committee for taking this on, and it's a big project, and I will respect any decisions they make because it's quite involved. I will be attending the fire admin meeting tomorrow night. There's a bit of a Christmas celebration there, so that'll be fun. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Kirkby.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. I also attended the wastewater treatment facility board meeting with yourself and a couple other councillors in the room. I also attended some library board interviews for volunteers from the community. Operations, as far as operations go, the snow melted, which gave the street sweeper an opportunity to come out and get some more leaves away from the curb prior to the full-time snow that's coming. Parts arrived for the play structure, and some of that was repaired that could be repaired inside. Some will have to wait till better weather, possibly spring. Seasonal garbage cans were taken away, so that the ones that are taken away for the winter are gone. And then truck 13, which I think is the 3/4 ton, but it's the one with the sander on the back. It had its wiring harness replaced for the plow. There was some sticking and some delay. So that was fixed. And then just on some staffing updates, as we all know, Ryan Sobey became the team lead. And then there was another role that came open, which was for the team lead hand, which Ben Bowman filled. And then with Ben's role coming open, Scott Stevenson, who was in Parks, transferred over to operations, which has left a vacancy at Parks, so we'll see. It's good to see that the in-house development and hiring from within is being used because let's be honest, they have the experience, whether it's in one department or the other, they have the experience with how the town works and functions. And I think that's a great opportunity to be able to promote from within. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations to all those gentlemen that moved up. Quick question, is the play structure open?
I'm going to say no because all the parts haven't been replaced, but I will ask Mr. Locke to confirm that.
Yeah, it's not open. We actually were out there welding today.
Okay.
So we are trying to just get it done before the year. So, we do anticipate that welding will get finished this week and we'll be able to open it. I don't know that anyone will want to use it at this time of year, but at least then it's complete and it's safe and it's open and it's there waiting for residents when the weather cooperates. So,
Perfect.
yeah, it's closed as of today. Our hope is to have it open by the end of the week.
Okay. Will we make an announcement about that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Locke.
Can I ask a related question to something that somebody has said?
Of staff?
Yeah, the heritage meeting, how much did that cost the town? I know we invited people from other places and there was one gentleman attended from Brockville. How much did that actually cost us at the end of the day?
The training was just over $3,000. We did recuperate some of the costs by, we had 15 participating municipalities that attended and sent representatives, not just Brockville, there were Rideau Lakes, two of the Glengarrys also came, South Dundas, South Stormont, North Grenville, Rideau Lakes, Merrickville, Woodford. So we had a good amount of participation, but that did come from the allocated budget for the Heritage Committee, which was set by council at 7,500, I apologize, for 2020.
So what did we charge the people that were coming from out of town?
It was a nominal fee of $35 to make it attractive to attend.
Okay, so it was $3,000 minus.
Correct.
Whatever.
Yeah. Can I make a suggestion that depending on what the staffing is for the Heritage Committee next year, it would be far more valuable, I think, for new members to have that education at the start of a term rather than almost at the end. And I know that's not your fault, but going forward, if we have the exact same members in the Heritage Committee, it doesn't really matter. But if we have a wholesale change, and we've had a wholesale change this year, I think it would be valuable to them and to the town to have that education at the start of the term. So maybe that's something that we can, depending on what happens after, say next winter, bounce off the other people that, especially perhaps somebody else might be willing to host.
Along that lines, was it taped or? Yes, so they could always watch the.
Correct. We did have one member of the Heritage Committee that wasn't able to attend, and we did seek LHC's permission to record this session. And we did provide it to all of our neighboring municipalities who attended as well, so that they also could reuse the resource as well. So it is taped, but to your point, there is benefit in completing that at the beginning of the term, and we may look to exercise that in the 2027 budget for the new committee that may or may not be struck depending on the composition of the members.
Excellent, thanks. And can I make one other suggestion? Something that I've noticed as I'm wandering around. Unfortunately, due to the way that winter started this year, we had a lot of snow and ice come down. It was plowed up. The leaves were still on the trees. The leaves have come down, got frozen in the ice on the edge of the trees. And now that it's melted enough, we have the street sweeper out cleaning up the streets, but the street sweeper is meant to sweep leaves and it's meant to sweep dirt. It's not meant to sweep ice. And unfortunately, we have a lot of leaves that are frozen into ice along the edge of some of our streets. And I think rather than trying to have the street sweeper do that, which could very well damage the street sweeper because of the amount of stress it would put on it, that perhaps we could look at using one of our small trucks with a plow on it to loosen that stuff at the edge of the street along the sidewalk, and then have the street sweeper attack it. It would be, I think, easier on the street sweeper. And basically, we gotta get that off before we get snow that buries the drainage sewers. Otherwise, we wind up with flooding, which we did have happen one year, a few years ago. It's just a suggestion that
It
might.
didn't plow up.
Pardon?
The leaves didn't get plowed up.
No.
They started plowing.
No, not in a lot of cases. The problem was we got a lot of leaves that come down after the snow and then got frozen in as the snow melted.
Okay.
It's probably not a problem for your neighborhood.
So we do have a guest for our closed session that's now here, so if we can just.
Yeah.
Move this along.
All right, we're gonna move this along. Next time,
Thank you.
Mr. McConnell or Deputy Mayor, send an email. Then we don't have to do everybody. Okay, we're gonna move on then to staff report 12.1. In 12.1, it's 81-2025 draft water and wastewater agreement, Town of Prescott with Township of Augusta. The recommendation is that council endorse the draft water and wastewater agreement between the Town of Prescott and Township of Augusta to sell wastewater treatment capacity to Augusta Township as a result of the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant made possible by the successful application of the housing enabling water system funding, subject to a financing agreement for the capital local share component of the funding project. All right, can I get a mover for that, please? Councilor Burton, Councilor Ray Young. All right, Matthew, this is yours.
Thank you very much. So I'm just gonna mostly focus on kind of the expansion and how that we are selling capacity. So through the Housing Enabled Water System funding, intake number 2, we were successful in that application with Augusta Township and Whisper Cardinal to increase the water treatment plant capacity by 33%, as well as extending the water and sewer services into Augusta Township for housing development. The capacity of the wastewater treatment plant will grow from 4,728 cubic meters per day to 6,304, which is an increase of 1,576 cubic meters. The draft water and wastewater agreement would set up the parameters for selling 1,500 cubic meters of water and wastewater capacity. From a wastewater perspective, 1,500 of the 6,304 total capacity equates to 23.79%. Which when you calculate the current cost of the wastewater treatment plant, as well as the sanitary pumping stations and the amount to expand the wastewater treatment plant, then 23.79% of that is 17.5 million. That's broken down into each time that a dwelling is attached to the system, that it would equate to a payment of $11,690.52. If it's a smaller unit, such as an apartment, secondary dwelling, or a condo dwelling unit, then it would be 85% of that $11,000 number. If it's a non-residential property, then it would be based on the calculation of demand of $11,690.52 per cubic meter. With the funding from the Hughes program, the capital amount needed for the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant would equate to 479 dwellings. As connections will be feeding directly into Prescott infrastructure, the intention is the revenue from the bulk sale of water and wastewater services will be paid to Prescott and subsequently split between the treatment and collection revenue streams, and also in terms of the capital amounts, be going to the reserve funds. There's no intention to increase the size of the water treatment plant board, nor add representatives to the board of Augusta Township. When we take a look at from a water perspective, we don't need to add any additional water capacity. We're already at 8,200 cubic meters per day in terms of the total capacity, and we don't run anywhere near there. 1,500 cubic meters per day equals 18.29% of the current capacity of the water treatment plant. One-time capital cost of $3,931.20 per dwelling would be required, with 85% for the smaller dwellings. And then we would allocate the portion of that to the water treatment plant as well as the water tower. If it's not a residential property, then in that case, it would be calculated based on the land that they require at $3,931.20 per cubic meter. Finally, at the wastewater treatment plant board, there was a discussion around the capital local share component. And when you take a look at the financing note below, that total municipal portion of that is 8.85 million. The intention is that we will develop an agreement with Augusta Township, providing the financing for the $8.8 million. Then throughout the life of the project, and then as they're adding houses to it, they will subtract a portion of that amount that's owed to Prescott from that 8.8 million so that they can recover it that way. That way, Town of Prescott is not on the hook for the local area. We are recovering the amount that is of the local share is covered wholly by Augusta Township from a financing perspective, and they'll recoup that as they charge developers a connection fee, a portion of which comes to Prescott, and we're able to sell that capacity as we've noted above. So more than happy to answer any questions you might be. A copy of the draft agreement is there. I think there's from the wastewater treatment plant board, I don't think there was any major concerns about the agreement itself, but there was a wanting to have that subsequent financing agreement in place before this became approved as well.
All right, thank you. Any questions from Garcia? Councillor Young?
Thank you. Matthew, I don't think we can say this enough. This is a $32 million project. More than 70% is coming from the province. And a great deal of the balance is coming from Augusta Township, very little expense to the town of Prescott.
That is the intention under this agreement, as well as the financing agreement, is that we wouldn't fund any of the local share amount. And once the local share amount has been paid back from a connection fee standpoint, the town of Prescott will receive the excess as per the capacity sale.
And this is a lengthy project. This is going to be 2 years to complete?
Correct. So substantial completion should be done by March of 2028.
Right. Those are the important facts that our taxpayers want to know, that we are not paying $32 million to expand our capacity to service Augusta.
Right.
Correct.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Young. Deputy Mayor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shanker. Matthew, can you go over again how the money per service, I guess you would call it, house, apartment, whatever, is going to be repaid? Because quite frankly, I understood it when we were at the meeting, but the way it's written here is a little fuzzy to me. Can you just see if you can clarify that? If it's fuzzy to me, it's probably fuzzy to somebody watching.
Okay. So in terms of, we'll start with water because it's a little bit easier. So there's no local share amount that we have to worry about, anything like that from a project perspective. Every time a house is connected to our system, a payment would come from Augusta to the town of Prescott in the amount of $3,931.20. If it's a smaller unit, it's 85% of that. If it's a non-residential, then it will be based on their demand from the system. When it comes to the wastewater side, because there's the local share that if we're asking Augusta to pay for, the non-sanitary pumping station amounts will come to the town of Prescott as they attach each new dwelling. However, the first part up to the 5 million for the wastewater treatment plant, they will keep that until they recruit the 5 million, and then above the 5 million, it comes to the town of Prescott.
Thank you. I touched on this at the meeting and I've been thinking about it since, and it's got nothing to do with this agreement here, but I would like to have something from the engineers going forward. What I mentioned was that we have a larger pipe being installed in Augusta Township. We're gonna have a larger pipe installed in the east end of town, going from the east end of Prescott to the sewage treatment plant. Those are gonna connect with a smaller pipe within the town of Prescott, from east end to west end. Currently, our sewage is infiltrated by a certain amount of water because all our sewers are not separated. Water helps to move sewage, as we found out at the meeting. Doesn't matter whether it's water infiltrated sewage or heavy sewage that isn't infiltrated, it costs the same amount of electricity to process it because it's harder to do when it's solid or sewage. There is going to be no infiltration of water from Augusta Township because their storm sewers are not going to hook into our system. They're going to go directly into Bradley's Creek or the St. Lawrence River or someplace else. So the sewage coming from that development is going to be more solid or sewage than we have now, and it's coming into a smaller pipe. My concern is, and this is why I would like some comment from the engineers on it, that we are not going to get some unexpected problem down the road that causes us to have to dig up from the west end of Prescott to the east end of Prescott and replace the sewer at our expense when it's not our fault. So I'm not holding up the approval of this. I intend to vote in favor, but I think it's a great thing for us to happen. But technically, I would like some comment from the engineers at a future meeting, if you could have that, please.
Certainly. So just a couple of items. So through the environmental assessment process, they've been doing those calculations. And that was with EBB. Subsequently, we hired J.L. Richards to do the engineering work. They're going through the exact same concept. And there are requirements to upgrade the pumping stations that are along King Street. So there's one at the Coast Guard, one at the corner of East Street, and obviously one at New Wexford. All of those are requiring to be upgraded. But at the same time, they're also looking at the pipe capacity and its ability to move that much. And so all of that is part of the project. And certainly when we get to that point, hopefully early in the new year, then we'll report back to council to explain exactly what that looks like and confirm whether there's anything that's required. At this point, I'm not aware that there's anything required from a infrastructure standpoint on King Street, but certainly we'll confirm that and have them speak to it.
That'll be fine. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Do I have to read the motion again, or everyone know what it is? All right, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Very good. Thank you. Okay, next is staff report 82-2025-2026 operational and project budget process. This is for information only. So Matthew, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So several changes were made to the municipal act in relation to budget, and specifically when municipalities follow their strong mayor's legislation. So this is not something I came up with. It's simply what is required by the municipal act at this point, and then just trying to figure out how that aligns with our process itself. So taking a look at the operational budget process for 2026, the intention would be from today until January 5th, any members of council can submit items to the mayor and to myself to be explored and contemplated as part of 2026 operational budget. And just as a reminder, operational budget items are those things that are ongoing in nature and continue from year to year. So I know one councillor has been in discussions to see, is there a possibility that we could take a look at some of the sidewalks that we could take care of and expanding that. So we're addressing those areas that don't get done. And so those are the types of things that would be considered. The project budget is something else, and that process I'll get to in a minute. So on January 26th, the intention is that council would receive and review the draft 2026 operational budget. And The reason for that is that according to the legislation, it has to be presented before February 1st of 2026. That will start a 30-day review period, and during this period, council can propose amendments to the budget by resolution. From January 27th to February 3rd, which is basically the following week, if there's any questions and or amendments that members of council would like to be discussed on February 9th, that again, sending that to the mayor and myself for contemplation, include it in the agenda, and then that will be discussed during the council meeting. February 9th, obviously, review and contemplate those, pass any amendments that council sees fit to the operational budget. Then that repeats again from February 10th to the 17th. And again, sending any questions or amendments that want to be contemplated on February 23rd. On the 23rd, those will be reviewed and contemplated, and any amendments will be passed as council sees fit. At the end of that 30-day process, the mayor has a 10-day process or period in which they can veto any amendments to the draft 2026 operational budget that were passed by council. If none of them are, if there was no amendments passed, the veto obviously doesn't apply. If the mayor doesn't veto any of those amendments, then the budget stands as amended. However, if the mayor decides to veto any of those amendments, then there's a 15-day period that council can then attempt to override the veto of the amended draft 2026 operational budget. And it would require 2/3 of council to override the veto. In that case, it's 5 of 7 members. And this could be done on the meeting of March 16th of 2026, or by calling a special meeting of council on or before March 23rd. Obviously, there's a lot of dates in there, a lot of times, a lot of back and forth, things like that. Really, the level of budget detail will be very similar to previous years. Obviously, we have to roll it up, present it at the beginning, but more than happy to answer questions and go through it as council sees fit in the 2 meetings in February. And then if there are any amendments, hopefully there are amendments that, improve the overall budget and the standpoint from it. And so that way, when we get to the end of the process, we have a budget everyone can live with. Again, this is not something I dreamed up. It is covered in legislation, it's covered in regulation, and we just try to make it work for our particular budget meetings. Every single municipality in Ontario that fell under the new strong mayors is going through this same concept. I've sat in on a couple of meetings with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. I've sat in on several meetings with the Municipal Financial Officers Association. We've sat in on a couple of meetings with AMCTO, all dealing with this budget and the budget process. There were a number of municipalities, the larger ones, that did go first. So we're trying to learn from them, and then the larger number, the over 100 that were appointed this year under strong mayors. So trying to learn from all of those, this seems to be the process that meets the legislation, meets the regulation, while also providing the maximum amount of time for council to consider and ponder the budget. So from a project budget development timelines, very similar to what we've done in previous years. So starting on Wednesday, I'll send out all the list of projects that have been previously approved and also considered but not approved, and then a sheet for adding any new project ideas. That will hopefully come back to myself on or before January 5th. At the January 12th meeting, we'll take an initial look at that list, what it looks like. And then from the 13th to February 9th, going through identifying your top priorities. Coming back February 23rd, looking at those priorities, seeing if we can come up to a semi-list, which then would be reviewed on March 2nd. So trying to align those 2 budget documents, the operational budget and the project budget, throughout January and February, so that we end up basically at the same point at the end of February with hopefully a budget that council is semi-happy with and one that we can. Thank you.
Thank you. What were those dates again?
Every day I'll send you a reminder.
Sorry, any questions for Mr. Armstrong? Counselor Campbell?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. So I'm understanding there's a different process for operational versus project. Does the project one go under this strong mayor thing too?
We don't believe it does because we fund all of the projects directly from reserves. So the amounts going into reserve come under the operational project or the operational budget. The amounts coming out of reserve, we feel come under the project budget, and therefore we've kind of used the exact same process we've used in previous years.
All right, so if we're suggesting projects, we don't have to go through the mayor. It goes.
Everything comes to me, we will bring it to council, council will have a common ability to say yay or nay, then prioritize from the priority list, then saying, is there anything that we're missing or anything that we want to delay? And then we'll go from there. So very similar to what we did this year and last year.
Okay, so for operational budget, I thought you had said by February, before February 1st, but I saw a different date.
So operational budget starts anytime. If you really are excited about some ideas, you can send them tonight. So starting December 1st, today, and to me by January 5th as well as there.
Okay,
And so that gives us about 3 weeks in which to figure out what the implications of any of those are.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Campbell. Anyone else? Deputy Mayor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Actually, the question is for our clerk, but I think Councillor Young would agree with me that ever since Matthew came to us a couple of terms ago, our budget process has been very smooth, very understandable, and we haven't had many problems with it. And I know previously you've indicated that you're not likely to use the pretty strong mayor's process, but never say never. Stranger things have happened, but the objection or overruling by council of 5 members, 2/3 majority, I would have to question, because it seems to me, and this is why the question is for Chloe rather than Matthew, if you are objecting to something, it seems to me that 2/3 of the remaining councillor what should be able to overrule it, which would be 4 rather than 5. Purely hypothetical, but
Ms. Preston, can you
it
answer?
occurred to me.
Unfortunately, the legislation specifies that it's all of council, not the remaining members. So the mayor is included in the calculation, which is why it's 5 of 7.
It's very,
For Prescott specific, sorry.
very clear, and thank you.
You. Okay, no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. All right, next up is resolution. So we do have one, 13.1 indoor recreational facility. Ms. Preston, this is Councillor Campbell's resolution. Give her the floor.
You may read it as well. It's already been read into the record, Mayor.
Oh, yes.
So in it, by effect of it being read, has a mover in Councilor Campbell.
Okay, so I'll read the motion. The council directs staff to investigate the cost of indoor recreation facilities, including but not limited to a dome or a warehouse-like facility of similar size and offerings as what is being conducted at the Leo Boyven Community Center by current user groups and trending users in South Grenville. And it was moved by Councillor Campbell. So next step is we need a seconder, right? So we need a seconder so that we can discuss this. Is there anyone willing to second that? Deputy Mayor McConnell? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. Did you want to pitch your idea?
Yeah, just it came up with deciding how much money to pour into the Leo Boyven Community Center. It was built in 67. A lot of communities have since got rid of their 67 arenas. I know it's important to the town, but I think it's like an old car, like you just keep putting money into it. And I just wondered if we should look at alternative research on building whether it's a warehouse, like structure or walls, the roof. Playing area similar to the size of the rink at the Leo. And just to see what alternatives we could look at, because we're talking about, I think it was 200-something,000 this round into the Leo. 273, 275.
About 300.
Yeah. And then, but that would last us maybe 5 to 10 years, but then how much more money are we gonna pour into it? It's an old structure and they don't last forever. So that was my thought with this motion.
What kind of budget were you looking at?
Well, this is the thing. This is what the research would prove to show us. And if it's a lot of money, then we could perhaps entertain Cardinal, Augusta to share in the building.
Okay. Any ideas what you think it would cost?
I have no idea. I know.
I think the mayor is asking the budget to do the study, right?
Oh, well, no. I just an overall, just wondering if you've been thinking about this for a few weeks, you know, what a cost of a dome would be and where you would put it and all that. You know, before we give all this work to staff to do, I just want to know if you had any, you know, inkling of what was.
Well, if I could ask, Ms. Preston, you had mentioned that Chemphil's putting up a bigger dome, but you know the cost of that.
It's just over $11 million for their dome. And I believe we were provided a rough estimate for a structure, an indoor structure of similar size to the Leo Boyden, somewhere between 5 and 7.
Okay.
But that's without any specifications or like if we were looking at a specified floor or any modified, like guaranteed features to have with an indoor.
Yeah.
It's certainly not small dollars.
No. But it's an important part of our recreation plan for Prescott is to have an indoor facility. So people can play pickleball and do the youth groups and basketball and all that kind of stuff. So I just,
Any idea on location?
well, you had mentioned that we couldn't rebuild the current property.
Correct.
But we do have green space, which we've been talking about. And perhaps one could be using Prince Street, part of Prince Street, build it as a recreational facility there.
Okay. Councillor Kirkby?
Yeah, for me, right, you know, I went out and explored this prior to the report coming from the Leo. When the report came from the Leo on the cost of it to keep it, I mean, I would provide some feedback to maybe Councillor Campbell, right? In my opinion, that information, some of that's out there, right? To come and put that on staff during budget time. And, you know, we're currently building the Seymour recreational fields and stuff like. It's a lot to ask, I think. I did a quick Google, right? And for a tensile strength with a steel frame, and you know, you can go aluminum too, but with our snow loads, we would need steel. You're looking well into the $1 million and over, right? That's with your electrical, that's with all your accessibility, stuff like that, you know? So, I mean, I would think, you know, coming here with some of that information yourself, or even reaching out to other municipalities that you know, or doing some research on your own, like the inflatables don't have a good long lifetime. There's some out in Ottawa, there's one in Nepean, one in Ottawa West, right? Like it's constant. Ottawa University uses one. It's a constant use of air, electricity to keep it up, right? For me, it's just, I mean, the Leo Boyden is there, you know, and it sounded like when I read that report that if we put close to 900 and some thousand into it, that we would potentially have 25 years there. Was kind of how I read that report that came out from staff. So for me, I mean, this is a project, kind of a make work project during a busy time of our term. And I honestly don't feel that right now it's value added myself.
Thank you, Councillor Kirkby. Anyone else?
Just
Do you want to
to reply.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be immediate, and I guess my question is how immediate is the decision we have to make? Leo?
Mr. Armstrong?
So it will be part of the project budgets for 2026.
Okay, all right.
Not the entire 300.
No.
It was, that 300 was over 3 years?
Correct.
And that would give us much longer than 5 years, wasn't it, Mary?
Well, I thought it was 15 years.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Mr. Wolf?
Those, yeah, if I could, sorry, the 300-ish thousand was, well, I think we were saying that two large components will be in the first 2 years, and then we would spread some additional over a several year period, but yeah, the intention is to get us kind of in the 15 to 20 year timeframe, which is not to say that those $300,000 will be the only spend. That's just addressing the deficiencies as they exist today. But we anticipate there will be additional spend on a building of that age over the next 15 to 20 years.
And I believe the number was higher, but the 300,000 is what we have to do to address what needs to be addressed right away. Is that correct?
Correct, that's what staff has identified as an immediate need.
All right, anyone else? Deputy Mayor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I can see the 2 points across the way here. I think Mary has come up with a reasonable suggestion that given the amount of money that, and I seem to recall a figure of 1.2 million, but given the use that we put that to, not all of that 1.2 million needs to be spent. And the amount that we do need to spend to kind of get us into the 10-year stretch is probably not a whole hell of a lot more than we would have spent on that building if it was still operational anyway, as an arena. I tend to agree with Justin that we should spend the money to put it into that 10-year category. But, and I also agree that this is not exactly the greatest time of the year to ask council to do a whole bunch of stuff. And that's quite frankly why I really hated to ask them to do some work on that earlier. But I think perhaps for a new council, it would be advantageous if this was brought up again a year down the road. Well, maybe more than a year down the road, because we don't want to get into the same situation with the budget again. But the longevity of the building is an issue. And she makes a very good point that 1967 era buildings are being flattened and replaced, but largely in the same spot and for the same use. We have a new building. It's in great shape. It should be. It's kind of a bonus, the usage of this building. It's not something any of us were expecting. And it's turned out to be great. So if we can continue it as long as possible, for as little as possible, we'd be crazy not to do it. But it might be interesting if down the road, next term, staff has some vacant time, and I know they have a lot of vacant time to donate to stuff like this, and I'm kidding, obviously, but an addition onto the north side of our new rink that is simply a shell with a floor that could accommodate what we're doing down there and also take advantage of the washroom facilities and the other things that we have there might be an interesting thing to look at. But again, next term down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? So we haven't, right?
Well, I'm leaning towards the comments that Lee has made, but we have a report from Eastern Engineering on a shelf somewhere. The report must be 10 years old now. And that said that building is good for another 40 years. Now that was structure. That wasn't all the little things that have gone wrong since then. But we've spent a great deal of money on that building. And I don't think we're in a position to build another building to replicate that one for quite a while yet. So having staff go on Google and find some information and come back, that's okay. That's not a big deal. But hiring a firm to go out there and study it and come back with a $25,000 study, I wouldn't be in favor of that. But I'm not in favor of postponing the repairs that we're talking about doing to the Leo to do a report from staff on these other buildings that you're talking about. I think it would be valuable, but I don't think it's necessary in the 26 budget. But I agree, down the road, it's going to be necessary to do something like that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Fair enough. I've heard all your comments and it certainly wasn't meant to be done before Christmas. I like Deputy Mayor McConnell's suggestion of adding to the ACCC. So it's just for us to think about this in the future and not just keep pouring money into it. Totally. Thank you for your.
So do you want to continue with your motion or or your resolution, or do you want to pull it?
I can pull it.
You want to pull it? Is that works? Okay.
Should be done.
All right, thank you. Okay. Bylaws. Bylaw 48-2025, the debenture bylaw. Motion is that bylaw 48-2025, bylaw to authorize long-term borrowing pursuant to the issue of debentures to Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. This is for our, obviously, our pumper truck for the fire department. We need a mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor McConnell, Councillor Ray Young. Does anyone want to speak to this, or is it pretty? I know the chief's here, but Chief, you're happy with your pumper? Go ahead and pay for it.
I just have a question. If we don't move forward with this debenture, is that $800,000 cost on the fire chief?
The new chief.
The next chief. Thank you. All right, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Next is new business. 15.1, resolution of municipality of South Huron regarding the collaborative action on sustainable waste management. This was brought out by both Councillor Kirkby and Deputy Mayor McConnell. So did you want to speak to it?
I'm fine.
No, he can go right ahead with it. I had some things, and if he doesn't, I'll be happy to.
So this is on support of incineration of waste, landfill garbage, right? I mean, it happens. There's 20 currently in operation in Canada. There's several across lots of Europe and US. It does produce energy. It is one of the dirtiest energies to produce, just to be clear, because you are burning garbage. But it's volume reduction, so it reduces the landfill, like the solids that go into the ground, by 90 to 96%. With that small leftover ash going to a landfill. There's energy recovery, which we talked, right? It's not the greatest way to generate energy, but it's still there. The heat can be used for processing, so it could be used for industrial needs or stuff like that. A lot of the material recovery, so some precious metals and stuff are actually recovered in the process, where currently they're just buried in the ground. Some of the benefits, and just to be honest and full transparency, if you Google this, you will see all kinds of sides to it. Right. But what I will say is smaller landlocked countries, this is what they rely on. There's no leaching into the groundwater. the incineration breaks down hazardous chemicals that aren't broken down when they're put into landfill or stored. It also kills the high temperature pathogens and stuff like that could be on, into the garbage or into the landfill. Overall, you're putting less into the ground for future generations. And there's no real good solution to garbage or landfill. But from my eyes and from everything that I've read, and we rented an Airbnb in Apollo Beach, Florida, which was right beside the Florida incinerator, one of the biggest ones they have, which is also a manatee viewing center. We stayed there for 2 weeks, and honestly, we didn't smell it. There was no odor. The area around it was clean. It's actually used as a tourist destination to view the manatees and dolphins that come in on the warm water discharge. And it just seemed like the right way to go for Canada, for the province of Ontario, to explore, to reduce putting stuff into the ground. I'll let Deputy Mayor McConnell have some comments.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Councillor Kirkby over there just said. I would take a little issue with his comment, burning garbage is not the technology that we're talking about here is not like having a burn barrel in your backyard with the smoke coming up. And unfortunately, that's what I got out of that comment, and perhaps many other people. You may recall many years ago where there was a proposal to build a waste incineration facility in Augusta Township, not far from us, and it encountered incredible opposition from us, from the neighbors, and it was abandoned. But that was a different technology than what we're talking about here. This is very clean technology. This technology has been around for about 20 years, and by a strange coincidence, I happened to be coming out from an auction in Ottawa 20 years ago at night, and I had the radio on, and Ottawa City was talking about this exact technology that burned garbage, and as not just garbage, but recyclables, everything basically. And as this came up, this was captured here, this was captured here, this was captured here. What came out of the top was virtually nothing. And what they got out of it was a bunch of metals, which are all sorted out. And like you say, a little bit of ash at the end of the day. And the beauty of that system was that it would take 300 trucks of garbage. I'm pulling this out of the air as an example. And you could do them in a line. If you needed 600 trucks of garbage a day, you just build another one and add right on to the end. So it sounded like wonderful to me, but it never went anywhere. And the reason it never went anywhere was that's just about the same time we started selling our recyclables to China offshore. And we get rid of those and it took pressure off. So burying garbage, I agree with Justin, is a technology that's been employed since the Stone Age, basically. We are way past that. That's fine when Canada has 18 million people. What they had when I went to school, we have 40 million people now, and they're in the same area because we all live within 100 miles of the border. So we have to quit burying garbage because we simply don't have the places to bury it anymore. To truck it, our garbage goes to where? Moose Creek or someplace like that? That's crazy. So I fully support this idea. And what I had, now perhaps we're a little bit different in how we approach this, Councillor Kirkby, but what I was prepared to do was to move the motion that we support the Tay Valley Townships motion, which in turn supported Tweed. And my suggestion would be, I have the Tay Valley Township motion here, and I have no intention of reading the whole thing and holding up the meeting, but it's got 14 paragraphs. And I believe if we took paragraph 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 13, and 14 and simply change the name Tay Valley to the town of Prescott, that would be exactly what I have in mind. I suspect it would be what you have in mind, and I think it would be certainly agreeable to the rest of the council. Now, I don't expect staff to do that sitting there. So that certainly could come back to the next meeting, and I would have no argument about that at all.
Okay, so so on this resolution, we have a mover and seconder? No? Sorry.
We have a consensus to come back with a motion
Okay,
for council to consider that has parts of the Tay Valley motion, which will be done at December, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, and I'll just give him my printed thing here.
So we're done with this?
I'm sure you'll agree with it.
okay, good, thank you. All right. No notices of motion, no mayor's proclamation. Any media questions? Nope. All right, next thing is we're gonna move into, council move into closed session at 8 PM, 7:55 PM to discuss matters pertaining to closed session minutes and the Prescott Library Board applications / appointments. Under section 239(2)B under the Municipal Act, principal matters about an identifiable individual, specifically applications to the Prescott Library Board. And that the Director of Administration, Clerk, and Deputy Clerk remain in the room. Okay. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Ray Young, Councillor Kirkby, all in favor?